The Montana sunset painted the vast prairie in shades of amber and gold, casting long shadows across the lonely dirt road. A small figure trudged along the dusty path, her tiny shoulders weighted down by a faded blue backpack and the crushing burden no 8-year-old should ever have to bear. Olivia Bennett clutched a crumpled envelope in her trembling hand, her eyes red-rimmed but dry. She had no more tears left to cry. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The distant silhouette of the Broken Spur Ranch loomed against the horizon like a final beacon of hope in a world that had suddenly, irreversibly shattered. "Mama died today," she whispered to the empty air, rehearsing the words she would soon need to say aloud. "Can I spend a day with you, Rancher Cody?" The wind whispered through the tall grass, carrying the scent of wildflowers and rain on the horizon. Olivia's small boots kicked up dust with each determined step, the only sound apart from the occasional call of a meadowlark. Before we jump back in, tell us where you are tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you are subscribed, because tomorrow I have something extra special for you. 3 days earlier, Olivia had sat beside her mother's hospital bed, holding her thin hand as the machines beeped slower and slower until finally they stopped altogether. The nurses had been kind, bringing her juice and cookies while the adults spoke in hushed tones in the hallway. Words like foster care and no known relatives drifted through the partly open door. That night, as she huddled under a blanket in the hospital waiting room, Olivia had remembered something. A name her mother mentioned during her more lucid moments: Cody Westland, the rancher who lived in the big house beyond the hills. He was your father's best friend, her mother had whispered. Before the accident, before everything changed. When nobody was watching, Olivia had slipped away, taking only her backpack with a change of clothes, her mother's locket, and the envelope with the ranch's address scribbled in her mother's shaky handwriting. She had been walking for almost 2 days now, sleeping hidden in a barn the night before, determined to reach the only person who might take her in, even if just for a little while. The ranch house grew larger as she approached, a sturdy 2-story structure with a wide porch and smoke curling from the chimney despite the warm evening. Horses nickered in the nearby corral, and a border collie lifted its head from where it lay on the porch steps, ears perking up at her approach. Olivia's heart hammered against her ribs. What if he turned her away? What if he called those people from social services who had been whispering about group homes and emergency placements? The dog stood now, tail wagging cautiously as it studied the small intruder. The screen door creaked open, and a tall figure stepped onto the porch. Cody Westland was nothing like Olivia had imagined. In her mind, he had been old, with white hair and a kind smile like the grandfathers in storybooks. But the man who stood before her couldn't have been more than 40, with sun-weathered skin, dark hair streaked with silver at the temples, and eyes the color of the summer sky. He wore a faded flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms corded with muscle from years of ranch work. "Can I help you, little lady?" His voice was deep but gentle, tinged with curiosity as he studied the small girl standing at the foot of his steps. The border collie circled around her, sniffing with interest but keeping a respectful distance. Olivia's carefully rehearsed words dried up in her throat. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, suddenly overwhelmed by exhaustion and hunger, and the enormity of what had happened. "Are you lost?" Cody asked, descending the steps with a slight limp in his right leg. He crouched down to her level, his expression concerned, but not threatening. "Where are your folks?" "Mama died today," Olivia finally managed, the words coming out in a rush. "Well, not today, 3 days ago, at the hospital." She thrust the crumpled envelope toward him with a trembling hand. "She told me to find you, said you knew my daddy. Can I spend a day with you? Just until I figure things out?" Cody's face paled as he gently took the envelope, recognition dawning in his eyes as he read the name scrawled across it. "You're Sarah Bennett's little girl," he said softly. Not a question but a statement. "Olivia?" She nodded, swaying slightly on her feet. The world suddenly seemed to tilt and sway around her, black spots dancing at the edges of her vision. The last thing she remembered was Cody lunging forward to catch her as her knees buckled beneath her. Olivia woke to the sound of a crackling fire and the smell of something delicious cooking. She was lying on a worn leather couch covered with a soft quilt that smelled of cedar and laundry soap. For a disorienting moment, she thought she was back home, that the past few days had been nothing but a terrible nightmare. But then reality crashed back, and she remembered where she was and why. "You're awake," Cody said, appearing in the doorway with a steaming mug in his hand. "How are you feeling, kiddo?" Olivia pushed herself up to sitting position, embarrassed. "I'm sorry I fainted. I don't usually do that. I reckon most folks don't usually walk for 2 days straight with hardly any food or water either," Cody replied, setting the mug on the coffee table in front of her. "Hot chocolate. My mom always said it was good for what ails you." She rapped, her small hands around the warm mug, taking a tentative sip. It was rich and sweet, with a hint of something spicy she couldn't identify. "Thank you," she whispered. "Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story." Cody settled into an armchair across from her, his expression difficult to read. "I called Sheriff Martinez," he said gently. "They've been looking for you since you disappeared from the hospital." Olivia's stomach clenched. With fear. "Are they coming to take me away?" "Not tonight," Cody assured her. "I told them you were safe, that you needed rest, and that I'd bring you into town tomorrow." They weren't happy about it, but they agreed. Relief washed over her, followed quickly by the realization that she had only bought herself a single night. One night of safety before the uncertain future rushed in to claim her. "Why did you come here, Olivia?" Cody asked quietly. "Of all the places you could have gone?" She set the mug down carefully, meeting his eyes with a directness that seemed beyond her years. "Mom talked about you sometimes. Said you and my dad were like brothers once. That you were the best man she ever knew, besides him." She twisted the hem of her shirt nervously. "I thought maybe you'd let me stay, just for a little while." Something flickered across Cody's face, pain, guilt, or perhaps both. "Your daddy and I were close once," he admitted. "But that was a long time ago. Before the accident," Olivia said. "Mom told me a little. She said Daddy was driving you both home when the truck crashed. That he died, but you lived." Cody's jaw tightened. "That's right." The days that followed brought a whirlwind of change to both Olivia and Cody's lives. The Broken Spur Ranch, once a place of solitary routine, now buzzed with the energy of a child's presence. Cody, who had spent years moving through his days with mechanical precision, found himself adjusting his schedule to accommodate school drop-offs and pickups, homework supervision, and the 100 small rituals that make up a child's daily life. Ms. Reynolds arrived on Thursday as promised, clipboard in hand and professional smile firmly in place. She inspected every corner of the ranch house, making notes about safety, features, sleeping arrangements, and nutritional provisions. Cody followed her anxiously, feeling as if his entire life was being evaluated and found wanting. "Your home is quite suitable, Mr. Westland," she concluded, much to his relief. "Though we'll need to discuss some child-proofing measures for your tool shed and certain areas of the barn." "Of course," Cody agreed quickly. "Whatever's necessary." Ms. Reynolds glanced through the kitchen window, where Olivia could be seen, sitting cross-legged on the grass, feeding carrots to Bandit. "How is she adjusting?" she asked, her professional tone softening slightly. Cody followed her gaze. "Better than I expected, given everything she's been through. She has nightmares sometimes, calls out for her mother. But during the day, she's... He searched for the right word, resilient. Children often are, Ms. Reynolds replied. More so than we give them credit for. She turned to face him directly. Mr. Westland, I need to ask you a difficult question. What are your intentions regarding Olivia's long-term care? The question caught him off guard. I thought this was temporary. Until you found a permanent placement. It is, Ms. Reynolds confirmed. But given your connection to her family and the fact that she sought you out specifically, I need to know if you're considering applying for permanent guardianship. Cody's throat tightened. The thought had crossed his mind, of course, during quiet moments when he watched Olivia slowly beginning to heal in the familiar rhythms of ranch life. But he'd pushed it away, telling himself he wasn't qualified, wasn't prepared for such responsibility. I don't know the first thing about raising a child, he admitted, especially not a little girl. Ms. Reynolds smiled slightly. Nobody does at first, not even biological parents. It's always on-the-job training. I live alone on a working ranch. My hours are unpredictable. I don't exactly have experience with school projects and... He gestured vaguely, whatever else little girls need. Those are practical concerns that can be addressed, Ms. Reynolds pointed out. What I'm asking is whether you want to be Olivia's guardian. The rest we can figure out if the answer is yes. Cody watched as Olivia stood and brushed grass from her jeans, then bent to scratch Bandit behind the ears. The dog leaned into her touch, his entire body vibrating with contentment. In just a few days, both had adapted to each other's presence, as if they'd always belonged together. I need some time, Cody said finally, to think about it. To make sure I'm making the right decision for her sake, not just because I owed her. Father, Ms. Reynolds nodded, seemingly satisfied with his answer. That's fair, but don't take too long. Children need stability, especially after trauma. If you decide this isn't something you can commit to, we need to move forward with finding her a permanent placement. After she left, Cody found himself standing in the doorway of his sister's old room, now Olivia's. The child had already made it her own in small ways, a drawing of Bandit taped to the wall, her few possessions arranged neatly on the dresser, the stuffed rabbit propped against the pillow. Signs of life and hope taking root in a space that had been empty for too long. The sound of small feet on the stairs pulled him from his thoughts. Olivia appeared at the top of the staircase, her expression uncertain. Is Ms. Reynolds gone? Is everything okay? She's gone, Cody confirmed. Everything's fine. She just needed to check that the ranch is a safe place for you to stay. And is it? Olivia asked, her voice small. Can I stay, for now at least? Cody nodded, feeling something inside him shift and settle. For now, and maybe longer, we'll see. Olivia's smile was like sunrise breaking over the mountains, sudden, brilliant, and warming everything it touched. She didn't press for more. Didn't demand promises he wasn't sure he could keep. Instead, she simply slipped her small hand into his and tugged him toward the stairs. Can we make cookies? Mom always said baking helps you think, and I think we both need to do some thinking. Cody laughed, allowing himself to be led to the kitchen. I'm not much of a baker, but I'm willing to learn if you are. The kitchen soon became a disaster zone of flour, sugar, and chocolate chips as they attempted to follow a recipe Olivia remembered from cooking with her mother. The cookies emerged from the oven, misshapen but delicious, and the process of creating them together had eased some of the tension from both their shoulders. As they sat at the kitchen table, dunking still warm cookies into glasses of milk, Olivia studied Cody with the direct gaze that never failed to unnerve him slightly. You don't have to keep me if you don't want to, she said suddenly. I know. Taking care of kids is hard work. Mom always said so. Cody nearly choked on his cookie. It's not a question of wanting to, Olivia. It's about what's best for you. I'm not exactly father material. Why not? She challenged. You take care of animals. You run this whole ranch. You make sure everyone has what they need. Isn't that what parents do? It's a bit more complicated than that, Cody tried to explain. There's school and friends, and... He waved a hand vaguely. Girl stuff. Olivia's eyebrows rose. Girl stuff. You know, Cody felt heat rising in his cheeks. Dresses and hair ribbons and whatever else girls your age need. To his surprise, Olivia giggled, a sound he hadn't heard from her before. I'm not very good at being a girly girl, she confided. Mom tried to get me to wear dresses for school pictures last year, but I accidentally got mud all over it before we left the house. Her expression clouded briefly at the memory, but she pushed through it. Besides, Mrs. Abernathy at the store could help with that stuff if I ever needed it. Which I probably won't. Cody couldn't help but smile at her. Practical approach. You've thought this through, haven't you? Olivia shrugged, suddenly looking very young and vulnerable. I don't have anywhere else to go where people know me, or knew my parents. Here, at least you can tell me stories about my dad. What he was like when you were friends. The simple logic of her request struck Cody to the core. Of course she wanted to be somewhere with connections to her past, with living memories of the parents she'd lost. It wasn't just about having a roof over her head or food on the table. It was about preserving the tenuous links to her family. History. Your dad could ride like nobody I've ever seen, Cody found himself saying. He had this way with horses. They'd trust him right away, even the wildest ones. We used to joke that he was part horse himself, the way he could read them. Olivia leaned forward, eager for more. Really? Mom never told me that. Oh yeah, when we were stationed in Germany, there was this Lippizzaner stallion that nobody could get near. Beautiful animal, but mean as a snake. Your dad walked right up to him, talking low and quiet, and within 10 minutes, he was leading that horse around like a puppy on a leash. The German trainers couldn't believe it. Could you teach me to ride like that? Olivia asked, eyes wide with excitement. To talk to horses the way my dad did? Cody considered the request. I can teach you to ride safely, he said cautiously. The rest, well, your dad had a special gift. But maybe you inherited some of it. We could find out. The conversation continued long past their usual bedtime, with Cody sharing stories of his and Jack's adventures in the army and later as young ranchers. Olivia soaked up every detail, occasionally offering her own memories of her father, fragmented recollections from early childhood that she clearly treasured. By the time they finally headed upstairs, Cody realized he'd made his decision, though he wasn't ready to voice it yet. The thought of sending Olivia away as strangers, to people who couldn't tell her what her father's laugh had sounded like, or how her parents had met at a county fair when Jack accidentally spilled lemonade on Sarah's new dress, seemed suddenly unthinkable. Monday morning brought Olivia's first day at Silverton Elementary. Cody helped her pick out clothes, jeans and a blue t-shirt that brought out her eyes, and packed a lunch based on a hasty Google search of healthy school lunches for kids, performed late the night before. Nervous? He asked as they drove into town, noting how her fingers twisted the straps of her new backpack. A little, she admitted. What if the other kids ask about my parents? What do I say? Cody's heart ached for her. Such adult concerns. For such small shoulders. You can tell them as much or as little as you want, he said carefully. It's your story to share, not theirs to demand. Olivia nodded, seeming to draw strength from his words. And what do I call you? When they ask who you are, the question caught him off guard. They hadn't discussed this particular detail. You can call me Cody, he offered. Or Mr. Westland, if that's easier. Or, he hesitated, your guardian, I suppose. For now, guardian, Olivia repeated, testing the word. Like a guardian angel? Something like that, Cody replied, smiling despite the seriousness of the moment. though I'm probably not what most people picture when they think of angels. Silverton Elementary was a small brick building that had educated generations of local children. The principal, Mrs. Holloway, met them at the front office, her kind face wreathed in a welcoming smile. "You must be Olivia," she said warmly. "We're so happy to have you join us. And Mr. Westland, thank you for coming in. I understand you're Olivia's guardian?" "Temporary guardian," Cody corrected automatically, then regretted it when he saw Olivia's face fall slightly. "For now, at least," Mrs. Holloway nodded understandingly. "Well, we're glad to have Olivia here for however long that may be. Miss Peterson's third-grade class is looking forward to meeting their new classmate." The process of getting Olivia settled was both easier and harder than Cody had anticipated. The school staff were kind and professional, clearly accustomed to handling children in difficult circumstances. But leaving her there, watching her small figure walk down the hallway beside Mrs. Holloway, tested his resolve in ways he hadn't expected. "She'll be fine," the school secretary assured him, noting his reluctance to leave. "Children are remarkably adaptable, and we'll call you immediately if there are any problems." The workday stretched endlessly before him. Cody tried to focus on ranch tasks, checking fences in the north pasture, discussing breeding plans with Lise, reviewing the accounts, but his mind kept wandering back to Silverton Elementary, wondering how Olivia was faring among strangers. By the time 3 o'clock arrived, he was waiting outside the school, shifting impatiently from foot to foot like an anxious parent on the first day of kindergarten. The irony wasn't lost on him, a 40-year-old bachelor rancher, worried sick about a third grader he'd known for less than a week. The bell rang, and children poured out of the building in a chaotic stream of backpacks and laughter. Cody scanned the crowd anxiously until he spotted Olivia, walking beside a tall girl with braided hair. Both were smiling, and Olivia was gesturing animatedly as she spoke. Relief flooded through him, so potent it made his knees weak. She was okay. Better than okay, by the looks of it. "Hey, kiddo," he called as she approached. "How was your first day?" "Good," Olivia replied, her earlier nervousness replaced by excitement. "This is Emma. She sits next to me in class. She has horses, too." Emma, a freckle-faced girl with kind eyes, smiled shyly at Cody. "Hi, Mr. Westland. Olivia said you have quarter horses at your ranch. My dad trains Appaloosas." "Mark Jefferson's daughter?" Cody guessed, recognizing the description. Emma nodded. "Yes, sir. Your dad knows his horses," Cody said approvingly. "Tell him Cody Westland says hello." After Emma departed with a promise to see Olivia tomorrow, they headed back to the ranch. Olivia chattered all the way home about her new teacher, the library full of books she couldn't wait to explore, and the science project they were starting on ecosystems. "And nobody asked?" Cody questioned gently during a pause in her monologue. "About your mom or why you're staying with me?" Olivia's enthusiasm dimmed slightly. Emma did. But she was nice about it. She said her grandmother died last year and she still misses her a lot. And then she showed me where the best swings are at recess, the ones that go really high. The simple kindness of children, Cody reflected, often surpassed that of adults. No awkward platitudes or uncomfortable silences, just acknowledgement of shared grief and then a return to the business of childhood. The days began to form a pattern. Mornings were a rush of breakfast, last-minute homework checks, and the drive to school. Afternoons saw Olivia completing homework at the kitchen table while Cody finished ranch chores. Evenings were spent cooking dinner together, Cody's culinary skills improving with practice, watching old Western movies that made Olivia giggle at their inaccuracies, and occasional rides around the ranch on Gentle Daisy, who had taken to Olivia as readily as Bandit had. Ms. Reynolds visited weekly, her clipboard ever present, but her expression increasingly approving as she observed the unlikely household finding its rhythm. She still referred to the arrangement as temporary, but with less emphasis each time. It was during the third week that the first real challenge arose. Cody received a call from the school in the middle of a meeting with his cattle broker. "Mr. Westland? This is Mrs. Holloway from Silverton Elementary. There's been an incident with Olivia." "She's not hurt," she added quickly, sensing his immediate panic. "But we need you to come to the school as soon as possible." Cody arrived to find Olivia sitting outside the principal's office, her face tear-streaked but defiant. Beside her sat a boy with a rapidly developing black eye. "What happened?" Cody asked, kneeling in front of Olivia. Before she could answer, the principal's door opened and Mrs. Holloway emerged, followed by a red-faced man in a business suit. "This is outrageous," the man was saying. "That girl attacked my son without provocation. I want her suspended at the very least." "Mr. Porter, as I've explained, we're still gathering information about what occurred," Mrs. Holloway replied with strained patience. "Ah, Mr. Westland, thank you for coming so quickly. Please, let's all step into my office to discuss this calmly." The next 15 minutes were tense. According to the boy, Tyler Porter, Olivia had gone crazy and punched him for no reason during recess. According to Olivia, Tyler had been teasing her about not having real parents, saying she was just charity case that nobody wanted. "She's lying," Tyler insisted, though his eyes slid away from his father's when he said it. "Emma heard him too," Olivia countered. "And so did Zach. Ask them." Mrs. Holloway confirmed that the other children's accounts supported Olivia's version of events. "While we understand Olivia was provoked, Mr. Westland, we still can't condone physical violence as a response. We have a zero-tolerance policy." "What exactly does that mean?" Cody asked, his hand resting protectively on Olivia's shoulder. "Normally it would mean suspension," Mrs. Holloway explained. "However, given the circumstances and the fact that this is Olivia's first incident, I'm recommending 1 day of in-school suspension. She'll complete her work in the guidance counselor's office tomorrow instead of attending regular classes." Mr. Porter began to protest, but Mrs. Holloway silenced him with a look. "Tyler will be serving 3 days of detention for his behavior, Mr. Porter. Bullying is taken very seriously at this school, especially when it targets a child's personal circumstances." The drive home was silent. Cody glanced repeatedly at Olivia, who sat staring out the window, her expression unreadable. "You want to tell me what really happened?" he finally asked. "I already told Mrs. Holloway everything," Olivia replied, her voice small. "I know, but I'd like to hear it from you without all the adults interrupting." Olivia sighed, a sound far too weary for a child her age. "Tyler's been saying stuff all week. About me not having a real home. About how you're only keeping me because you feel sorry for me." Her voice wavered slightly. "Today he said my mom probably died just to get away from me." Cody's hands tightened on the steering wheel, anger surging through him. "And that's when you hit him?" Olivia nodded miserably. "I know I shouldn't have. Mom always said violence doesn't solve problems, but I got so mad I couldn't think straight." She looked up at him, her eyes swimming with tears. "Are you going to send me away now? Because I'm too much trouble?" Cody pulled the truck over to the side of the road and turned to face her directly. "Olivia Bennett, listen to me carefully. I am not sending you away. Not for this, not for anything. What you did wasn't right, but I understand why you did it. We'll work on better ways to handle bullies, okay?" "Okay," she whispered, relief washing over her face. "I'm sorry I embarrassed." You didn't embarrass me," Cody assured her. "Actually, I'm kind of proud of your right hook. Though don't tell Mrs. Holloway I said that." A small smile tugged at Olivia's lips. "Dad taught me how to make a fist properly, before he died. He said girls should know how to defend themselves." "Your dad was right about that," Cody agreed. "Though maybe next time, try using words first. And if that doesn't work, find a teacher. And if that doesn't work?" Olivia asked. Then make sure you plant your feet properly before you swing, Cody replied with a wink, earning a genuine laugh from Olivia. That evening, after Olivia had gone to bed, Cody sat on the porch, nursing a beer and thinking about the day's events. Louise found him there, returning from checking on a pregnant heifer in the far pasture. "Tough day, boss?" the foreman asked, settling into the chair beside him. "You could say that," Cody replied, recounting the school incident. Louise chuckled. "Little one's got spirit. Reminds me of my Elena at that age. Heart like an open door, but fists like small hammers when she felt wronged." "How did you handle it?" Cody asked. "The discipline part, I mean." "Consequences, consistency, and conversation," Luce replied. "My wife's formula. The 3 C's. Make sure they understand what they did wrong, why it was wrong, and what they could do differently next time. But also make sure they know they're loved, no matter what. That's the hard part, isn't it?" Cody mused. Making them feel secure even when they've messed up. Louis studied his boss thoughtfully. "You're thinking of keeping her, aren't you?" "For good?" Cody nodded slowly. "I'm thinking about it. Ms. Reynolds asked me last week if I'd consider applying for permanent guardianship. I told her I needed time to think it through." "What's to think about?" Luis asked. "The child is already yours in every way that matters." "I don't know the first thing about raising a kid," Cody protested. "Especially not a girl." Louise laughed. "Nobody does at first. You think I knew what I was doing when Elena was born? Or Miguel when his twins arrived? You learn as you go. And you make 1,000 mistakes, and somehow they grow up anyway. What if I'm not enough for her? What if she needs a mother figure? A real family with 2 parents and siblings, and all the things I can't give her? What she needs," Louise said firmly, "is someone who loves her and puts her welfare above their own. The rest is details." He stood, stretching his back. "Think about it, boss. But don't think too long. That child has already lost too much. She doesn't need to lose you too." After Louise left, Cody remained on the porch, watching the stars emerge above the mountains. The ranch spread out before him, peaceful in the growing darkness. This land had been his dream for as long as he could remember. He'd worked, saved, and sacrificed to make it his own. But for the first time since buying the Broken Spur, he realized the ranch itself wasn't enough. The house needed more than just his solitary presence to make it a home. Autumn settled over the Montana landscape, painting the aspen groves in vibrant gold and the distant mountains with early snow. The Broken Spur Ranch prepared for winter, with hay baled and stored. Cattle moved to sheltered pastures, and the steady rhythm of seasonal work that had defined Cody's life for years. But this year was different. This year he wasn't facing the coming cold alone. 2 months had passed since Olivia had arrived at his doorstep with her heartbreaking declaration. 2 months of adjustments, challenges, moments of doubt, and unexpected joy. The temporary guardianship papers sat in Cody's desk drawer. The 30-day review period long expired, but neither Ms. Reynolds nor Cody had mentioned taking the next step in either direction. Parent-teacher conferences are next week, Olivia announced one evening as she set the table for dinner, a task she'd claimed as her own. "Mrs. Peterson says all parents should attend." Cody looked up from the stew he was stirring on the stove. "I'll be there," he promised. "What time?" "Tuesday at 4, Olivia replied, carefully placing forks on folded napkins, exactly as Mrs. Peterson had shown her. "Emma says her mom always brings cookies to her conferences. Do we need to bring cookies? Is that in the official instructions?" Cody asked, amused by her concern. "No," Olivia admitted. "But Emma says it makes the teachers like you better." Cody laughed. "I think your grades will matter more than cookies, but we can bake some if it makes you feel better. How are things going in class anyway? Any more trouble with Tyler Porter?" Olivia shook her head. "He stays away from me now. And Emma's always with me at recess, so nobody bothers me." She arranged water glasses with careful precision. Mrs. Peterson says I might get to be in the school play. They're doing The Wizard of Oz before Christmas. The play, huh? What part are you hoping for? Olivia's cheeks flushed slightly. Dorothy would be amazing, but I'd be happy with any part, even a munchkin or a flying monkey. Mrs. Peterson thinks I have a good reading voice. The casual mention of future events, a Christmas play, months away, struck Cody forcefully. Olivia was putting down roots here, planning a future that extended beyond the uncertain boundaries of their current arrangement. And he realized with sudden clarity that he was too. His mental calendar now extended to school events, holiday planning, even thoughts about next summer's activities. When had that happened? When had he started thinking of their life together as something permanent rather than temporary? Cody? Olivia's voice broke into his thoughts. Is something wrong with the stew? He blinked, realizing he'd been standing motionless, wooden spoon suspended over the pot. No, just thinking. Stew's fine. Better than fine. It's my mom's recipe. Guaranteed to put meat on your bones before winter sets in. The parent-teacher conference arrived with a flurry of last-minute preparations. Despite Cody's assurances that cookies weren't necessary, Olivia had insisted on baking chocolate chip cookies that morning before school, carefully packing them in a container decorated with hand-drawn horses. Mrs. Peterson welcomed them into her classroom with a warm smile. Olivia, why don't you show Mr. Westland your desk and your art project while I finish organizing my notes? She suggested, giving them a moment to settle in. Olivia led Cody proudly to her desk, pointing out her cubby with neatly stacked books, and the wall of student artwork where her painting of the Broken Spur Ranch held a prominent position. This is really good, Cody said, genuinely impressed by the detailed rendering of the ranch house, complete with bandit on the porch and horses in the corral. You've got a real talent, Olivia. Mom taught me, Olivia replied, a touch of sadness in her voice despite her smile. She used to paint landscapes before she got sick. She said art helps you see the world more clearly. The conference itself was overwhelmingly positive. Mrs. Peterson praised Olivia's academic progress, her respectful behavior, and her quick integration into the classroom community. She's remarkably resilient, the teacher noted. Given everything she's been through, I wouldn't have been surprised to see academic struggles or social withdrawal. But she's thriving, Mr. Westland. You're clearly providing her with the stability and support she needs. Cody felt a surge of pride, followed immediately by uncertainty. I'm doing my best, he said, though I'm still figuring this parenting thing out as I go. Mrs. Peterson smiled. Aren't we all? I've been teaching for 15 years and raising 2 children of my own, and I still feel like I'm making it up half the time. She glanced at Olivia, who was examining a classroom aquarium across the room. The important thing is that she feels secure. Children can overcome almost anything if they have that foundation. On the drive home, Olivia was uncharacteristically quiet, staring out at the gold and crimson landscape passing by the truck window. Everything okay? Cody asked. I thought the conference went well. It did, Olivia agreed. Mrs. Peterson said really nice things about me. Then what's bothering you? Olivia hesitated, then turned to face him. She called you my parent, and you didn't correct her. Cody's hands tightened slightly on the steering wheel. Should I have? No, Olivia said quickly. I liked it, but... She twisted the hem of her jacket nervously. Does it make you uncomfortable when people think you're my dad? The question hung in the air between them, weighted with all the unspoken emotions of the past 2 months. Cody chose his words carefully. No, it doesn't make me uncomfortable. What makes me uncomfortable is not knowing what the future holds for you. For us. Whether this arrangement we have is what's truly best for you in the long run. Why wouldn't it be? Olivia challenged. I'm happy here. I'm doing good in school. I help with chores. I don't cause too much trouble. It's not about whether. You're being good enough, Olivia, Cody clarified gently. It's about whether I'm good enough. Whether a single man on a working ranch can give you everything you need growing up. You're doing okay so far, Olivia said with the simple confidence of childhood. And you're learning. Lou says you've gotten way better at making school lunches. Cody couldn't help but laugh. Luis has been reporting on my lunch-making skills, has he? He says practice makes perfect, Olivia replied solemnly. And that you're practicing really hard at being a good dad. The word dad sent a jolt through Cody's chest, part panic, part something warmer and more profound. Is that what you want? He asked quietly. For me to be your dad? Olivia looked down at her hands. I already had a dad, she said softly. And he was great from what I remember. I wouldn't want to replace him. Of course not, Cody agreed quickly. But, Olivia continued, I think there's room in my heart for both of you. Mom used to say that love isn't like a pie where more slices mean smaller pieces for everyone. It's more like a garden that just keeps growing as long as you tend it. The wisdom in her words, her mother's words, carried forward through her daughter, struck Cody deeply. Sarah Bennett had clearly been a remarkable woman, raising a child with such emotional intelligence and resilience. Your mom was very wise, he said. And you're a lot like her, I think. Olivia's smile was small but genuine. So, can I stay? For real, not just temporarily? Let me talk to Ms. Reynolds, Cody said, not wanting to make promises he couldn't keep. There's a process we'd need to go through, legal things to sort out. But yes, Olivia, if that's what you want, and if the state agrees I'm qualified, you can stay. For real. The joy that bloomed across Olivia's face was like sunshine breaking through storm clouds. She didn't speak, didn't need to. Her expression said everything. That night, after Olivia had gone to bed, Cody sat at his desk and pulled out the business card Ms. Reynolds had left with him months ago. He stared at it for a long moment, then picked up his phone and composed a text message. I'd like to discuss applying for permanent guardianship of Olivia Bennett. Can we meet this week? The response came almost immediately. Thursday, 2 p.m., my office. Bring documentation of income, health insurance, and plans for childcare during your working hours. I'm glad you've made this decision, Mr. Westland. Cody set the phone down, a mixture of terror and determination coursing through him. He was really doing this. Committing to raising a child, Jack and Sarah's child, as his own. The responsibility was enormous, but for the first time in his adult life, so was the certainty that he was making the right choice. The process of becoming Olivia's legal guardian was more complex than Cody had anticipated. There were home studies, background checks, financial assessments, and countless forms to complete. Ms. Reynolds guided them through each step with professional efficiency, but the sheer volume of bureaucracy was daunting. Why do they need to know if I've ever lived in another state? Cody asked in frustration one evening, staring at yet another form, or whether my grandparents were citizens. What does that have to do with whether I can take care of Olivia? They're being thorough, Ms. Reynolds explained patiently. Remember, the state's primary concern is Olivia's welfare. They need to ensure you're suitable in every way. Suitable, Cody repeated, the word tasting bitter on his tongue. As if raising a child was like picking the right horse for a particular trail. Ms. Reynolds smiled slightly. In some ways, it is. You need the right temperament, the right resources, the right support system. But unlike choosing a horse, this is a lifetime commitment. The state needs to be certain you understand that. I understand it, Cody assured her. Better than they could possibly know. Despite the frustrations, they progressed through each stage of the process. Olivia met with a court-appointed child advocate who interviewed her privately about her wishes. Cody's home was inspected again, this time with an eye toward permanent rather than temporary placement. References were contacted, including Luis, Mrs. Peterson, and Sheriff Martinez, all of whom spoke enthusiastically about Cody's character and his commitment to Olivia's well-being. Throughout it all, life at the Broken Spur continued its new rhythm. Olivia thrived in school, earning the role of a munchkin in the Christmas play. With 2 lines she practiced relentlessly until Cody could recite them in his sleep. She made friends beyond just Emma, bringing classmates home for supervised playdates that filled the old ranch house with laughter. Cody hadn't realized it had been missing. Winter arrived in earnest, blanketing the ranch in snow and ice. Cody taught Olivia to ice skate on the frozen pond behind the barn, both of them bundled in scarves and mittens, their breath forming clouds in the crisp air as he held her gloved hands and guided her in wobbly circles. "My dad taught me on this same pond," he told her, steadying her as she nearly lost her balance. "I was about your age, maybe a little younger. My sister Maggie was already a pro, skating circles around me and showing off. Will I get to meet Maggie someday?" Olivia asked, concentration etched on her face as she tried to glide without his support. "I hope so," Cody replied. "She's coming home for Christmas next month. She's excited to meet you." Olivia looked up in surprise, momentarily, forgetting to focus on her skating and promptly sitting down hard on the ice. "Ow, wait, she knows about me?" Cody helped her to her feet, brushing snow from her coat. "Of course she does. I've told her all about you. What did you say?" Olivia asked, suddenly anxious. "Does she mind that I'm here? That you're trying to be my guardian? Mind?" Cody laughed. "Olivia, she's thrilled. She's been telling me for years that I need someone in my life besides horses and cattle. When I told her about you, she said it was the best news she'd heard in ages." Relief washed over Olivia's face, followed by a tentative smile. "So she might like me?" "She's going to love you," Cody assured her, "almost as much as I do." The words slipped out naturally, without planning or preamble. But once spoken, Cody realized they were absolutely true. Somewhere in these months of shared meals, homework help, ranch chores, and late-night comforting after nightmares, love had grown between them, not replacing what Olivia had lost, but creating something new and equally precious. Olivia's eyes widened, and for a terrifying moment, Cody thought he'd overstepped, said too much too soon. But then she threw her arms around his waist, hugging him fiercely despite the awkwardness of their ice skates. "I love you too," she mumbled into his coat. "Even if you are terrible at braiding hair." Cody laughed, the sound echoing across the frozen pond. "I'm getting better. That last braid only had 3 lumpy parts instead of 10. As they skated back toward the house, hand in hand, Cody felt a peace settle over him that had been missing since the night of Jack's death. Guilt and grief hadn't disappeared. He suspected they never would entirely, but they had transformed into something different. A determination to honor his friend's memory by caring for the daughter he'd left behind. A chance to make amends not through self-punishment, but through love and service to this remarkable child. The week before Christmas, Ms. Reynolds arrived at the ranch with a thick folder of documents and a rare smile that transformed her usually serious face. "The judge has reviewed your case," she announced without preamble as Cody invited her in from the cold. He signed the final guardianship papers. "Congratulations, Mr. Westland. You are officially Olivia's legal guardian." Cody stood frozen in the entryway, the news washing over him in waves of disbelief and joy. That's wonderful. I thought the process would take longer." "Typically it does," Ms. Reynolds agreed, setting her folder on the hall table and unwinding her scarf. "But given the clear bond between you and Olivia, her express wishes to remain with you, and the strong community support, the judge saw no reason to delay. Where is Olivia?" "I'd like to tell her the news as well. She's at her friend Emma's house for a playdate." "I'm picking her up in about an hour," Ms. Reynolds nodded. "Perfect. That gives us time to go over these documents and..." Discuss what this guardianship means going forward. They settled in the kitchen, where Cody had been preparing Christmas cookies from his mother's recipe, another attempt to create normal holiday traditions for Olivia. As he served coffee and hastily cleared flour from the table, Ms. Reynolds laid out the legal papers one by one, explaining each in detail. This grants you full legal and physical custody until Olivia turns 18, she explained. You'll make all decisions regarding her education, healthcare, religious upbringing, and general welfare. You're entitled to enroll her in your health insurance as a dependent, claim her on your taxes, and access educational records. Cody nodded, the magnitude of the responsibility settling on his shoulders like a physical weight, heavy, but not unwelcome. There will be follow-up visits from my office, Ms. Reynolds continued, quarterly for the first year, then annually after that, assuming everything continues to go well. Which, she added with a rare smile, I have every reason to believe it will. After Ms. Reynolds departed, Cody stood in the kitchen, surrounded by half-decorated Christmas cookies and the life-changing documents spread across his table. He'd done it, promised to be a father to Jack's daughter, created a family where there had been only solitude. When he picked up Olivia from Emma's house, he could barely contain the news, but he wanted the moment to be special. So he waited until they were home, then asked her to help him finish decorating the Christmas cookies. I have something important to tell you, he said as they worked side by side, applying colored frosting and sprinkles to the star-shaped cookies. Olivia looked up, her expression immediately concerned. Is something wrong? Are they making me leave? Just the opposite, Cody replied, setting down his frosting bag. Ms. Reynolds came by while you were at Emma's. The judge signed the guardianship papers. It's official, you're staying here with me, permanently. Olivia's frosting bag dropped to the table, momentarily forgotten. Really? For real? Not just temporary anymore. For real, Cody confirmed. This is your home now, Olivia. For as long as you want it to be. Olivia launched herself into his arms, nearly knocking over a chair in her enthusiasm. Thank you. She chanted, hugging him so tightly he could barely breathe. This is the best Christmas present ever. Cody hugged her back, his vision blurring with unexpected tears. For me too, kiddo. For me too. That night, after Olivia had gone to bed, though Cody suspected she was too excited to sleep, he sat on the porch despite the cold, looking up at the star-strewn Montana sky. He thought of Jack, his best friend, who had always seen the best in him even when he couldn't see it himself. He thought of Sarah, who had entrusted her most precious treasure to his care through her final words to her daughter. I won't let you down, he whispered to the stars. Either of you, I promise. As if in answer, the northern lights appeared, shimmering curtains of green and purple dancing across the sky. Cody watched in awe, recognizing the rarity of the display this far south. It felt like a blessing, a cosmic acknowledgement of the commitment he had made. Inside the house, warm lights glowed in the windows, and a Christmas tree, cut from their own land and decorated with a chaotic mixture of store-bought ornaments and Olivia's handmade creation, stood in the living room corner. Signs of a child's presence were everywhere, boots much smaller than his own by the door, a backpack hung on a hook, drawings magnetized to the refrigerator. Broken Spur Ranch was no longer just a place where he worked and slept. It had become a home. Christmas morning dawned with a silent snowfall that transformed the Broken Spur Ranch into a winter wonderland. Olivia woke early, as children do on Christmas, but hesitated outside Cody's bedroom door, uncertain whether to wake him. In her previous life with her mother, Christmas mornings had been quiet affairs with modest gifts and simple celebrations. She had no idea what to expect in this new home, with this new family they were building together. The decision was made for her when Cody's door swung open, revealing him already dressed in jeans and a red flannel shirt, his hair still damp from the shower. "Merry Christmas, early bird," he greeted with a smile. "I was just coming to check if you were awake yet." "Merry Christmas," Olivia replied, self-consciousness fading in the face of his obvious good cheer. "I wasn't sure if I should wake you. On Christmas?" "That's practically your job as a kid," Cody assured her. "Now how about some breakfast before we see what Santa left under the tree?" They shared a festive breakfast of pancakes shaped like snowmen with chocolate chip eyes and bacon scarves, Cody's attempt at holiday whimsy that made Olivia giggle with delight. Despite his initial insistence on breakfast first, Cody could barely contain his own excitement as they finally moved to the living room where the Christmas tree stood guard over a surprising number of wrapped packages. "I thought we agreed to keep it simple," Olivia said, eyes wide at the colorful display. They had discussed Christmas plans the week before, with Cody carefully asking what traditions she and her mother had observed, and Olivia explaining that they usually exchanged just 1 or 2 gifts each. "I might have gotten carried away," Cody admitted, looking slightly embarrassed. "This is my first Christmas with a kid in the house, and technically, some of those are from Maggie. She's arriving this afternoon, but she sent her gifts ahead." "And some are from Santa?" Olivia asked with a knowing smile that suggested she was old enough to question the Santa story but young enough to enjoy the magic anyway. She didn't win first place. That honor went to a 5th grader with a project on solar energy, but her detailed work earned her an honorable mention and a special certificate for scientific methodology. Cody's pride was evident as he took dozens of photos of Olivia standing beside her display, her face glowing with accomplishment. "I've been thinking," he said as they drove home from the fair, the certificate carefully stored in a folder on the back seat. "You've been asking about riding lessons beyond just walking Daisy around the corral." Olivia's head snapped up, her attention immediately captured. "Yes, and I think you're ready," Cody continued. "Not for the rowdy stock horses, mind you, but I've got my eye on a gentle quarter horse Mari that might be perfect for you. She's experienced, well-trained, and has the patience of a saint." "My own horse?" Olivia breathed, hardly daring to believe it. "Really?" "Well, she'd still technically be a ranch horse," Cody clarified. "But she'd be primarily yours to ride and care for. It's a big responsibility, Olivia. Horses need daily attention, even when it's cold or rainy, or you'd rather be doing something else." "I can do it," Olivia promised immediately. "I'll take the best care of her, I swear." "When can we get her? What's her name? What color is she?" Cody laughed at the rapid-fire questions. "Her name is Penny. She's a chestnut with a white blaze, and we can drive over to the Jefferson Ranch this weekend to see her if you'd like. Mark's been looking for a good home for her since Emma outgrew her." "Emma's old horse?" Olivia was even more excited now. "She told me about Penny. She said she's the sweetest horse ever and that she taught Emma everything she knows about riding." "That's the one," Cody confirmed. "But remember, we're just going to meet her first. Make sure you two are a good match before making any decisions." But Cody already knew, watching Olivia's face light up with joy, that Penny would be coming home to the Broken Spur. And true to his prediction, the weekend visit to the Jefferson Ranch sealed the deal. Penny, a sturdy chestnut with kind eyes and a gentle disposition, took to Olivia immediately, nuzzling her pockets for treats and standing patiently while the excited child brushed her coat to a gleaming shine. "She's perfect," Olivia declared, looking up at Cody with pleading eyes. "Can we really take her home?" Mark Jefferson, Emma's father, chuckled at her enthusiasm. "Penny's been moping ever since Emma moved up to her new gelding," he said. "She's a horse that needs a job and someone to love her. Looks to me like she's found both." The purchase was arranged, and the following weekend, Penny arrived at the Broken Spur in Mark's trailer. Olivia had spent the intervening days preparing, reading books on horse care, cleaning and organizing tack, and helping Louise prepare a stall in the barn close to Daisy's. "Remember, A horse is a partner, not a possession, Cody reminded her as they led Penny to her new home. You have to earn her trust and respect, just as she needs to earn yours. I will, Olivia promised solemnly. We'll learn together. As winter slowly gave way to spring, Olivia and Penny did indeed learn together. With Cody's patient instruction, Olivia mastered the basics of horsemanship, grooming, feeding, basic medical care, and increasingly confident riding. The once timid girl who had arrived at the ranch on foot now rode proudly alongside Cody during weekend inspections of the property, her posture straight, her hands steady on the reins. She's a natural, Luce observed one afternoon as they watched Olivia guide Penny through a series of simple patterns in the training ring. Has her father's gift, just as you said she might. Jack would be proud, Cody agreed, a bittersweet smile tugging at his lips. Though he'd probably be giving her advanced lessons already. He was always more daring than sensible when it came to horses. Like father, like daughter, perhaps, Louise suggested as Olivia urged Penny into a controlled canter, her face alight with the simple joy of speed and partnership with her mount. She has his courage, that one. And her mother's brains, thankfully, Cody added. A good combination. Spring brought calving season, the busiest time of year at any cattle ranch. Olivia threw herself into the work with enthusiasm, helping where she could and staying out of the way when necessary. She absorbed every lesson the ranch could teach her. How to tell when a cow was close to delivering. How to bottle feed a calf whose mother couldn't produce enough milk. How to mend fences and check water sources. You're raising a proper rancher there, Sheriff Martinez commented during a social visit, watching Olivia confidently bottle feed a gangly black calf in the barnyard. Hard to believe she's the same scared little girl who showed up here last fall. She's always had the strength, Cody replied. She just needed somewhere safe to show it. And you needed someone to share this place with, the sheriff observed shrewdly. Funny how life works out sometimes, isn't it? How the things we think are our greatest tragedies can lead to our greatest blessings. Cody considered this, watching Olivia scratched the calf's ears as it finished its bottle. I spent 10 years punishing myself for Jack's death, he said quietly. Thinking I deserved to be alone, that I'd lost the right to happiness because of one terrible mistake. But Olivia... He shook his head, still amazed by the change she'd brought to his life. Olivia showed me that the best way to honor Jack's memory wasn't through guilt, but through love. By loving his daughter the way he would have had he lived. Wise beyond her years, that one, Sheriff Martinez agreed. You're both lucky to have found each other. As spring bloomed into full summer, bringing long golden days and the scent of wildflowers on the warm breeze, Olivia approached Cody with an unexpected request. Could we visit Mom's grave? She asked one evening as they sat on the porch, watching fireflies blink in the gathering dusk. I haven't been back since the funeral. It doesn't seem right somehow. Cody set aside the tack he'd been oiling. Of course we can, he said gently. Whenever you're ready. Maybe this weekend? Olivia suggested. And could we maybe visit my old house too? There might be some of Mom's things, pictures and stuff, that I'd like to have. If the new people haven't thrown everything away. Your house hasn't been sold yet, Cody told her. It's been in probate. That's a legal process that happens after someone dies. The bank owns it now, but no one's living there. I've been paying the utilities to keep it from being damaged by freezing pipes or anything like that. Olivia looked up, surprised. You have? Why? Because I knew someday you might want to go back, Cody explained. To say goodbye properly. Or to collect mementos. It didn't seem right to let your childhood home be stripped bare by strangers before you had that chance. Tears welled in Olivia's eyes, but they were tears of gratitude, not grief. Thank you, she whispered, leaning against his side. For thinking of that. For thinking of everything. That weekend, They made the journey back to Helena, where Olivia had lived with her mother. The 3-hour drive was quiet, both of them lost in their own thoughts. Olivia watched the familiar landmarks appear as they neared the city, her emotions a complex tangle of nostalgia, grief, and the strange dissonance of returning to a place that had once been home, but no longer felt like it. The cemetery was peaceful, well-maintained, with ancient oak trees providing dappled shade. Cody hung back, allowing Olivia privacy as she knelt beside her mother's simple headstone, arranging the wildflowers they had collected that morning along the base. "Hi, Mom," he heard her say softly. "I'm sorry I haven't visited before now. But I'm okay. Better than okay, really. I found him, just like you said. Cody, Dad's best friend. He's taking care of me, and we're doing good together." She continued talking quietly to the stone, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying, sharing all the developments of her new life. Cody remained at a respectful distance, his own eyes damp as he witnessed this bittersweet reunion between mother and daughter. Finally, Olivia rose and walked back to him, her expression solemn but peaceful. "I'm ready to go to the house now," she said, taking his hand. "Thank you for waiting." The small bungalow where Olivia had spent her childhood looked forlorn and neglected, the yard overgrown, the windows blank like unseeing eyes. Cody unlocked the door with the key he'd obtained from the bank, then stepped back to let Olivia enter first. Inside, the house was exactly as Olivia and her mother had left it, though a fine layer of dust covered every surface. Olivia moved through the room slowly, touching familiar objects, picking up framed photos, opening drawers and closets. "Take anything you want," Cody told her, "whatever matters to you." By the time they finished, they had filled several boxes with treasures, photo albums, Sarah's jewelry box, a quilt Sarah's grandmother had made, books that had special meaning, and dozens of small mementos that might seem worthless to anyone else, but were priceless to Olivia. As they loaded the last box into Cody's truck, Olivia turned to look at the house one final time. "I'm ready to go home now," she said, and Cody knew she meant the Broken Spur. The house behind them was her past, the ranch was her future. "Home." "It is," he agreed, starting the engine. As they drove back toward the setting sun, Olivia leaned her head against the window, watching Montana's vast landscape unfold before them. "Mom would be happy," she said suddenly, "knowing I'm with you. That we found each other." "I think so too," Cody replied, his hand automatically touching the leather bracelet she had given him for Christmas, which he wore every day as promised. "Your mom was the most forgiving person I ever knew. She understood that good people sometimes make terrible mistakes, but that doesn't make them any less good. Like you forgiving me for punching Tyler Porter," Olivia said with a small smile. Cody laughed. "Exactly like that, but on a much bigger scale." They drove in comfortable silence for a while, the miles passing beneath the truck's wheels, carrying them closer to home with every minute. "You know," Olivia said as the distant silhouette of the Broken Spur's main house appeared on the horizon, "when I showed up at your door that day and said Mama died today, 'Can I spend a day with you?' I was so scared you'd say no. I'm glad I didn't," Cody replied simply. "Me too," Olivia agreed. "Because one day wasn't enough. I think I'm going to need forever." Cody reached across the seat and squeezed her hand, his heart full to bursting with gratitude for this second chance at family, at love, at redemption. "Forever sounds just about right to me," he said. "Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us."